Hello lovelies, welcome back to Alake Gay YouTube channel. In today's video, I'll be learning how to make this beautiful front slit tulip skirt. It's so easy and simple to make. This is beginners friendly. We're going to making everything from the scratch. So if you're interested in learning how to make this, please continue to watch this video. If you're new here, please kindly subscribe. And to the returning subscriber, thank you very much. I really appreciate your support, your like, your comment and all. So to start off, your pattern paper should be on full like this because you'll be needing the full scale for this. I'm just going to tape down my pattern paper. So I've taped it down already, and the first thing I'm going to mark on this pattern paper is the length of the skirt. So the length of this skirt will be 22 inches. I've added my sewing allowance and also the joining allowance. I'll still be adding a band to this, so that's why I make 20 inches. So just feel free to measure the length of your skirt and make sure to remove your length of your band from it too. So I'll mark 22 inches for that, and then I'm going to measure my waist to hip. My waist to hip measurement is 8 inches, and that's why I marked 8 inches right there. So I'll label that line the hip line, and at the upper part here I'm just going to rule the border line, and that line will serve as my waistline. So to start off, on the waistline there, I'm going to mark the quarter of my waist circumference. My waist is 28, so 28 divided by 4 equals to 7. Then I added 1 inch for that. That's why I mark 8 inches there. And on the hip line, I mark 9 inches. That is the quarter of my hip circumference. My hip is 36, so 36 divided by 4 equals to 9. That's why I marked 9 there on that area. So at the hemline, I'll be marking 7.5. So I have 9 inches on the hip line. So I remember I removed 1.5 inches from there, and that's why I marked 7.5, just to create the pencil effect for the skirt. And from the hip line, I've come down by 1 inch in order to create the shape for the skirt, and I just mark it straight to the hemline. So the next thing I'm doing now is to mark my dart leg. And for that, you're going to need your bust span. My bust span is 7, so 7 divided by 2 equals to 3.5, and I marked 3.5 right there. I'm just going to mark my dart. I added 1 inches for my darts, and I just marked half inch on both sides. And the length of the dart for the front is 4 inches, and I marked that right there. So the next thing I'm marking right now is the seam allowance. So I'm adding 1 inch for the seam allowance for this. If you use more than 1 inch for your seam allowance, you can go ahead and do that, but I add 1 inch for my seam allowance for a dress or anything I'm making without lining. So 1 inch is enough for me, but if you do more than that, you can add that. So I'm just marking the line for my allowance right there, and I'm going to write seam allowance on that area. So that's my seam allowance right there. So the next thing for me now is to get my tracing wheel. You need your tracing wheel. This pattern is on fold, so I'm just going to trace my dart to the second side. So as I'm tracing it right now, it's going to show on the other side. You may not see it on camera right there, but if you use your tracing wheel to trace it, so you need your tracing wheel to do this. Or if you don't have tracing wheel, just find a way to mark the dart on this side to the other side, because you're going to need it. So I've cut off the excess paper I have there, and at the center here for the skirt, I'm going to come down by 1 inch in order to eliminate any kind of puffiness around the waist area for the skirt. So I'm just going to eliminate that, and I'm just going to cut it off. This will not affect your skirt. It is just a necessary thing you need to take off from your skirt, and that is it, like that. So I'm just going to open it up. I use tracing wheel to mark on the other side. It's going to show right there. It's not showing right now on the camera because you may not be able to see it. So if you don't have tracing wheel, just use a marker to indicate the line on the other side, but tracing wheel makes it very, very easy. So, and that is it. So now to get our skirt, I've just taped this down. So now to make our tulip skirt, I will first roll the center. When we folded the pattern paper into two, it's going to have a crease line there. So from the center here, you can come in by between 1 to 2 inches. So but I did 1.5 this will determine the opening of your skirt. So from where you mark, either you mark 1 inch, 1.5 or 2 inches. Whatever you mark there, you're going to cross it to the other leg of your leg of your dart there. Just look at the way I'm doing it right now. So from whatever you mark here, from this center here, you're just going to connect it to the one leg of your dart there, and that is all for this skirt. So just mark it there, and that is all. Can you see how it looks? So I'm just going to cross that the other side, because that other side we're going to be crossing it out. This side is the only side that we need. So this is the side that we need. This is what I'm going to use to cut out my fabric for the front pattern. So we're going to move on to make our back pattern. So to start off the back, this is my pattern paper. I'll first mark 1 inch of the pattern paper, which I'm going to use for my zipper allowance, because I will be adding my zipper to the back. So if you don't want your zipper to be at the back, then you don't need the zipper allowance at the back. You can just make your skirt, but I really like to have my zipper at the back for the skirt. It just makes it look really beautiful to me. So now from there, just like I did in the front, I'm going to mark the waist to the hip measurement, which is 8 inches for me, and also the length of the skirt, which is 22 inches that I marked there. And I'm just going to scale down those lines like so. So that is what I'm doing right there. So the next thing I'm going to do right now is to mark on my waistline. The up here is what I'm going to use for the waistline. And on the waistline, I'm going to mark 8.5 instead of marking 8 inches. I mark in the front pattern, because I'll be using 1.5 for the dart at the back. I'm going to explain that later. And on the hip line here, I'm going to mark quarter of my hip circumference, which is 9 inches. I'm just going to connect it straight right there. So I'm just marking that right there. So on the hem line, so at the front I remove 1.5 inch from the hem line, from the hip line, and mark it on the hem line, and that is what I marked at first. This was a mistake. Seriously, this was a mistake. I was supposed to divide it on both sides. So I will first rule this, then I'm going to get that I'm making a mistake on this pattern, and I'm just going to correct it immediately now. So what I was marking, I made a mistake. So instead of marking 7.5 right there, I'm supposed to divide the 1.5 into 2. You know the 1.5 that we removed. So I'll remove 0.75 on this side, and on the other side I'll remove 0.75. So that means I will have my 0.75 in the middle right there, in order to create the curve effect and the pencil effect for the back. I hope you understand this. So if you watch my tutorial on how to make a basic skirt, you're going to understand this perfectly. So that is what I did right there. If this was a mistake, the first time was a mistake, I was supposed to mark that differently. So I'm just going to connect from the hem line straight to the hip line like so. So after that, I'm marking my sewing allowance as my seam allowance of 1 inch, just like I had 1 inch to the front. So I'm just going to mark that. So I'm just going to connect it right there. I'm marking it right there like that. So the next thing I'll be doing now is to mark my dart. For the dart, I'll need my bust span. My bust span is 7, so 7 divided by 2 equals to 3.5. So instead of marking 3.5, I'm going to mark 4 inches. I'm marking 4 inches because I'll still be taking the half inch away at the other side. So now I've marked 4 inches, and I'm just going to mark my darts of 1 inch, half inch on both sides like that. So I'm just going to roll it straight down. The length of the dart for the back is 5 inches. So I'm just going to connect those to that like so. I've taken 1 inch for my dart already, so I have half inch left. So the remaining half inch is what I'm going to take on the other side. This is for the back tightening, in order to eliminate any kind of folding around the hip area, the back area right there on the skirt. So this is going to lay flat on the bum there without any kind of folding. So that is why you need to take this. So the next thing I'll be taking is my dart, my zipper allowance. And I added 1 inch from there before. That means my zipper allowance will now start from this side of where I've taken in the dart. So that is why it's not going to be straight. The back of human is not straight. It's a bit kind of curvy. That's why you need to take your back dart in order to keep that curvy effect at the back. And from the hem line too, from where I come in by 0.75 that I explained earlier, that is where I'm going to start measuring my zipper allowance at the back right there. So that is how we're just going to do this, and this is how it's going to look for the back pattern, and that is all. So I'm just going to rule that down and I will label that area. So I'm just smoothing the edge like that. So the next thing I'll do now is just to cut off the excess pattern paper around there like so, and I'm just going to write the labeling on that side, seam allowance and slip allowance. So now this is my front pattern, which I'm going to be cutting on the pattern paper right now. I have my fabric on full because this will be in 2 pieces, the front part will be in 2 pieces, and right here I'm just marking the folding allowance for this area because I need to fold in. So if you're using lining for yours, just add your joining allowance to the lining at this other side, but I'm not using my lining for that. That's why I mark 1 inch in order to use it for the hemi allowance around there, and the other upper part I have 1/2 inch, which will serve as my joining allowance for the band. And this is the back pattern, which I'm cutting right there, 2 pieces for you. So these are my patterns, the front and the back side. So now let's move on to the sewing. So to sew this, I'm removing my pattern from the paper. I'm removing my pattern from the fabric because I pinned it down on it already, and that is exactly what I'm doing right now. So that is the front that I remove now, and I'm removing the back pattern from the fabric in order for me to be able to sew this. So to start off, I'll first go ahead and take in my dart intake for the front and the back. So make sure you use your pattern. I use my pattern to indicate where my dart is. I'm going to use that. So make sure you take your dart intake. Use your pattern to notch the area where your dart should be, and take it to the same machine and just take in your dart. So right here I've already taken in my dart for both the front 2 pieces and for the both back 2 pieces. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to join my front together. So now, I told us that the front will be in 2 pieces because of the opening. That's the tulip effect here. So place your front on the depending on how you want it. You can have it in the either way you want it. So place it on top of each other. Make sure one side is on top of the one dart of the other. Just look at the way I put it there, right there. So that's you're going to place your front part, and you're just going to go ahead and join it together on that part. So just place it on top of each other like that, depending on how you want it to face, right or left. It's just totally dependent on you. So I've already joined it together already right here. So next thing is to join it on this side and leave your opening, or you can leave it open like that, but I will advise that you open it, you join it together on this side. Just join it together, it's just going to look perfect there. So I will join this together. So the next thing is for me to go ahead and join my band. So I'll go ahead and take this to the same machine and join my waistband to the front, and also I will join the band to the back too. So right here, these are the back pattern. I've already joined the waistband already. So make sure to cut him. The length of my waistband is 1.5 inches. So I just join it to my skirt, and also this is the front. I've already joined it together, and also the waistband. So the next is for me to join this together at the side and also at the back, and I'll add my zipper, and that is all. And make sure, don't forget to hem it at the hem area too. So that is all for our skirt, our tulip skirt. It's just so simple to make. So if you have any question, please don't hesitate to ask your question in the comment section down below. Please, I would really like to hear from you. I would love your feedback. If you have any question, if you have any suggestion, please let me know in the comment section. And if you have been here and you've not subscribed, please kindly subscribe to this channel. I will appreciate your support, your like, your comments. So please kindly subscribe, and to all those that have subscribed, thank you very much. I really appreciate you. So please let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you have any comments, any question, please ask me in the comment section. So thank you very much. I love you. Catch you in my next tutorial. Bye.